Ominous killer still unknown. Killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I had a bad dream, and I woke up in the middle of the night. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth. A long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there watching me, and after what seemed like forever, it said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way that only a madman could speak. He said, "Go to sleep." I let out a scream, and that's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around trying to knock him off of me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife and it went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors headed the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. I looked out of it to see him vanish into the distance. I don't know where he went after that. But I can tell you one thing, though. I will never, ever forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. They will never leave my head. Police are still on the look for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. "Hello," she said. "I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son." She turns around and calls her son over. "Billy, these are our new neighbors." Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. "Well," said Jeff's mom, "I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou." They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday party. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, Why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." "Jeff," said his mother, "we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. No, we're going to that party and that's final." Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at the ceiling, when suddenly, he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast, and got ready for his first day at his new school. As he sat there, eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time, however, it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus. Then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it in his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, a year younger than Jeff. He was wearing a Aristotle shirt and ripped blue jeans. "Well, well, well. Looks like we got some new meat." Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other was huge. "Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith." Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. "And he's Troy." They looked over at the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since the day he was crawling. "And I," said the first kid, "am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare, if you catch my drift." Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. "Tisk, tisk, tisk. I hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way." The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give back my brother's wallet or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. "Oh? And what will you do?" Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed, and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but he was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground, and Keith lashed out at him. But Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach, and Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over the ground. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. "Jeff, how did you..." was all that he said. They saw the bus coming, and they knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. So they started running. They ran as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell anyone what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was. And he said, in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, and his mother looking back at him with an angry look. "Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, and that it wasn't just regular fighting, that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son!" Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones that pulled knives on me and Lou." "Son," said one of the cops, "we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed and 1 having a bruise on his stomach, and we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us?" Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them that attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So, Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. "Son, call down your brother." Jeff couldn't do it since it was he who beat up all the kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded. "Well, kid, it looks like that will be a year in juvie." "Wait!" says Lou. They all looked up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. "It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it." He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. "Son, put the knife down," said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. "No, Lou, it was me. I did it." "Huh. Poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what I did. Well, take me away." The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them it was me! Tell them! I was the one that beat up those kids! Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. Jeff, please. You don't have to lie. We know it's Lou. You can stop. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car sped off, with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway. Seeing Jeff's face, and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked his father inside to break the bad news to him, as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were still both shocked, sad, and disappointed. Jeff couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was all his fault. He just went to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. Two days went by, with no word from Lou at juvie. No friends to hang out with. Nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Saturday, when Jeff was awoken by his mother, her wearing a happy, sunshiny face. "Jeff, it's the day!" she said as she opened the curtains and let light flood into his room. What day?" asked Jeff as he stirred awake. "Why, it's Billy's birthday party!" He was now fully awake. "Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's party after... There was a long pause. "Jeff, we both know what happened, but I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed." Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father, all dressed up. His mother in a dress and his father in a suit. Jeff thought for a moment why they would wear such fancy clothes to a kid's birthday party. "Son, is that all you're going to wear?" said Jeff's mom. "Better than wearing too much," he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. "Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression," said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. "I don't have any fancy clothes!" he yelled downstairs. "Just pick out something," called his mother. He looked around in his closet for something he could call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions, and an undershirt. He couldn't find an overshirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on, settling for that. You're wearing that? They both said. Jeff's mother looked at her watch. "Oh, no time to change. Let's just go," she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house and knocked on the door. At it appeared Barbara, and just like his parents, she too was way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see was adults. No kids. "Oh, if you're wondering, the kids are all out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them?" said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to see a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to Jeff and handed him a toy gun and hat.
"Hey, wanna play?"
he said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff." The kid looked at him with a weird puppy dog face.
"Please?"
"Fine," said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous. But then, he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off Lou. So he played with the kids for a while. Until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith over the fence on their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred.
"Hello, Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business."
Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you got my brother sent to juvie." Randy got an angry look in his eyes.
"Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today."
As he said that, Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground, and Randy punched Jeff in the nose. Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and they both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming now, and parents started running out of the house. Suddenly, Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets.
No one interrupts or guts will fly,"
they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face, and after 3 kicks, Jeff grabbed his foot and twisted it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picked Jeff up by the back of his collar and threw him through the patio door. As Jeff tried to stand up, he's kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly started kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood.
"Come on, Jeff, fight me!"
He picks up Jeff and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter, grabs it, and smashes the glass over Jeff's head.
"Fight!"
He throws Jeff back into the living room.
"Come on, Jeff, look at me!"
Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood.
"I was the one who got your brother sent to juvie, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot there for a whole year? You should be ashamed."
Jeff starts to get up.
"Oh, finally! You stand up and fight!"
Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka all over his face.
Once again, he gets that strange feeling. The one he hasn't felt in quite a while. "Finally, he's up!" Randy says as he rushes at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed, all rational thinking gone. All he can do is fight. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot miraculously missing. Jeff runs up the stairs and he hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall and braces himself. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard. And now all that's left is Keith. Keith is more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall, and a thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could, and pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lied there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous laugh and smile. "What's so funny?" asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. "What's funny is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol." Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught on fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him into a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everyone started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and the stitches all over his body. He tried to sit up, but realized there was some kind of tube in his arm. And when he tried to get up, it fell out. Quickly, a nurse rushed in. No. I don't think you can get out of bed just yet," she said as she put him back into bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there, with no vision and no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours and hours passed, he heard his mother's voice. "Oh, honey, are you okay?" he asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak. "Oh, right. I forgot. But, honey, I have some great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Randy confessed of trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go." This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm. "He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again." Jeff's mother hugged him and said her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family. Then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family members were all there to see it, to see what he would look like. As the doctor unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. "Let's hope for the best," says the doctor. He quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare awestruck at his face. What? What happened to my face?" Jeff rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face. It was horrible. His lips were burnt to a deep shade of red. His face had turned into a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand to his face, and it had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror. "Jeff," Lou said, "it's not that bad." "Not that bad," Jeff said. It's perfect!" His family was equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably, and his parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching. Jeff? Jeff, honey, are you okay?" "Okay. I've never felt more happy." "Look at me. This face goes perfectly with me." He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? Well, you may recall that when Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, his sanity, snapped. Now all that was left of him was a crazed, killing machine. That is, his parents were not aware of that yet. "Doctor," said Jeff's mom, "is my son all right? You know, in the head?" "Oh yes. This behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, bring him back here, and we'll give him a psychological test." Oh, thank you, Doctor. Jeff's mother then went over to Jeff. Jeff, sweetie, it's time for us to go. Jeff looked away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazed smile. Okay, Mommy. His mother took him by the shoulder and took him to get his clothes. This is what came in, said the lady at the desk. Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood and stitched back together. Jeff's mother led him to the room and made him put his clothes back on. Then they left, not knowing that this was the final day of their life. Later that night, Jeff's mother awoke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a kitchen knife and carved a smile into his cheeks. Jeff, what are you doing? Asked his mother. Jeff looked over to her. I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while. Now, I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, unblinking and ringed in black. Jeff, your eyes! I couldn't see my face. I got tired and my eyes started to close. I burnt out the eyelids so I could see myself forever. My new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back, seeing that her son has completely gone insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful? Yes, son. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy. Let me go get him so he can see your face too. She backed away and ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. Honey, get the gun, She stopped and slowly turned as she heard Jeff move into the doorway. He stood there, holding his knife. Mommy, you lied. That's the last thing they heard as Jeff rushed at them with the knife, gutting both of them instantly. Lou woke up, startled by the noise. He didn't hear anything else, so after a few seconds, he shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling. that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hand covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou. Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape from Jeff's grip. But Jeff silenced him, shushing him. Shh. Just go to sleep. Thank you to all my $9 patrons for supporting this video. Aiden S. 2014, Alexander Lee, Angelic Panda, Ursulan Falati, Urisville, Brantley Wiggard, Chief, D4C, Darts Z, Declan Benoln, Delboy, Draco, Dragonblood Fire X, Ellison Wilson, Araviv, Evildoer, Phelanil W. 2011, Frank, Gavin, Isaac Coria, Jace, Joel Climaco, Jonessi, Cade, Lawbringer DK, Lex, Liam Hughes, Lone Survivor 3, Man of Many Bees, Mark Mason, Maxwell Lukier, Nick Capone, PDP, Patrick Jan Joshua Davidson, Poyup, Prism, Prototype Number 13, Sean Malcolm, Sleepy Sloth, Sneedly Chuck, Sonrox, Thoughty Dahati, Tommy, Uriel Herrera, Will, XX Antitrix Never Sorry 17XX, Zach Hale, and Zivis01. Thank you all so much for being able to make these videos possible. It really means the world and more to me that you guys support me the way that you do. If any of you would like to support me out there, I'll leave the links to my social media down below. There you can find both my Ko-Fi and my Patreon. That way, if you want to make a one-time donation, you can, and if you want to continue to support me full-time, you can also. Thank you all again so much for listening to today's audio or watching today's video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!